I don't get married and have children to be stuck in the home and do nothing because that's my job in life. My job in life is to have the most amazing life possible, and I think everybody should have the same.
What I love about your story is that you've gone to these places that are facilitators of adventure. So they take all the hard work away from it.
Yeah.
So you've just got to just turn up, and you know that you can have a great time with the support of a great group of people who are going to make that experience so much more worthwhile.
I mean, it's taken me to bizarre places, things that I'd never thought was possible for me to do in life. And suddenly I'm doing them. Every year is a new adventure.
I guess that's a fundamental part of what an adventure can give you when you put yourself not just out of your comfort zone, but out of your norms and out of your daily routine.
I've always been sort of attached to somebody, which is my choice and I love it. But there I was just me by myself. I've always seen ill health, I think, through my work. We're not here forever. Don't wait for something. If you're thinking of it, just do it. You never know when you're not here anymore, do you? Because you're gone.
I live a nomadic lifestyle, and I'm never in one place for too long. So from time to time, I find it very convenient to order groceries in the form of a Gusto box. I've been using Gusto for nearly 5 years now. It's a delivery company that sends you fresh food and all the ingredients you need to cook delicious meals at home, along with very easy to follow recipe cards. They have over 90 recipes every week, so there really is something for everyone. And so many of their recipes I've returned to again and again because their meals are just delicious. I've got a referral code. I've shared it with so many of my friends. It means they get cheap groceries on their first few boxes and I get credit in return. I'll link it below. Use it to sign up and you get a pretty hefty discount off your first box. There's no subscription required and you can order just one box whenever you want. Are you still doing your press-ups?
I am, yeah. It's something I'm quite well known for. It's something I started back in 2015 at the end of a challenge in Sri Lanka. And then I started doing them everywhere I went, top of every mountain. And then it went to every party I went to pretty much. And everybody, whenever they see me now, says to me, "Oh, have you done press-ups here?" And I'm like, "All right, yeah, I'll do them." So even I've been to different schools doing talks and stuff, and I get the kids to do them with me. And but last month, April, was the push-up challenge, which I did 100 every day, which was just great.
That's remarkable. I mean, just to do that on one day is enough, but to do that on every single day of the month for 30 days.
Yeah, it was. It started off maybe like 20 at a time, and then as the month went on, I started doing like 30 in groups, and then towards the end of the month, at the end of the month, I was definitely getting 100 in one go. I'm videoing myself and putting it out there. And it was for Cancer Research UK, that one. So I just wanted to raise as much money as possible for that charity at the time.
What is it about the press-ups that inspired you to want to challenge yourself to do this and prove that you could do this?
Yeah, I've questioned myself with that. I analysed myself a lot. And thinking back, I realised a few months ago that I was asking myself, why am I doing them? And I realised at the age of 10, 11, I got beaten up in the street and I started karate lessons. And at the beginning of those karate lessons, we did press-ups every time. And I'd forgotten all about that. But that came to me and I was like, maybe that's why I do it. It's the start of something strong and it gives me strength and it makes me feel strong and positive about things. Over the last few years, a lot of things have happened, good and bad. But press-ups make me feel strong and they give people a laugh. And now I'm known for them, that it's quite funny. I've done them now in front of King Charles and, well, he didn't see. I did it in Buckingham Palace. I did it in the Grand Canyon and just all the different treks I've gone on in the Himalayas, Kilimanjaro. I just do push-ups wherever I go, yeah.
And you even inspired one of the Loose Women to do it as well.
Yeah, I was in the audience of Loose Women. So there was a campaign going on where it was like a body positivity campaign for Loose Women. And they asked people to phone in or email to say, what's your story? So I was like, oh, you know what? I used to go on holiday and hide myself behind a towel and try and get changed and stuff. And in the end, I thought, these people, whatever size you are, they're just having fun. That's all you see, people having fun rather than the size of them. So I thought, I'm going to send a photo of me jumping out of a swimming pool with the bikini on. And you could only just see a top half and all my fat was stretched out. So it was all good. And they got in touch with me and said, do you want to be on this campaign? I was like, yeah, brilliant. So I booked my train, I booked my hotel. I was going over to London and they contacted me a couple of days before and said, oh, we've changed the day. It's the next day. So I was like, I'm on a night shift. I can't come. So they said, oh, we'll come in the audience anyway, and we'll, have a time in the audience, and that's it. So I got in touch with the warm-up guy off Twitter, and I said, I do push-ups wherever I go, and can I do it in front of the Loose Women sign, that's all. And he said, let me know you're there on the day, and we'll see what we can do. So I got to the audience, and I saw this guy, his name's Lee Pert, and I was like, oh, I need to say to him, it's me, So the first adverts come along, and some fella said it was his birthday, so all the audience are singing happy birthday to him. And then the second advert's coming along, and I'm like, I need to say something. And then they did something else. And just at the end of the second adverts, this Lee looked at me and he goes, are you the push-ups girl? So I was like, yeah. And he goes, okay, next adverts. And I didn't know what he was going to do. So the next adverts come along, and he announces to the whole audience that I do push-ups for charity, and we're all going to give me a cheer and come to the front and come and do it. And then I got up, and then Nadia Sawala got up and said, I've never been able to do them. So I was like, well, just join me. So she was like, oh, okay. So we got down, and I was better than her, obviously, but she was doing it on her knees and I was doing it properly. But it was just great. It got a load of laughs, and all the audience were laughing and cheering. And that's what I like most, just to inspire people to just have fun and enjoy it.
Do you find people are surprised that you can, what you can achieve?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, push-ups alone, they look at me and they think, middle-aged little lady, not under, just under 5 foot, and that she can't do much. And then I start doing things and like, oh, wow, they're quite, I think they are quite shocked at the things I do. I was out, where was I? I was at work the other day, and I had to carry a defibrillator down to a different area. And this student there said, oh, here, I'll carry that for you. And I looked horrified at her. I went, I've been to the gym today. I've lifted, triple, quadruple of this. I'm fine. And then I was doing that with a defib, although you're probably not meant to. But I just wanted to show her I can do it. I feel like I need to prove myself sometime as to, that I can do things and nothing's going to stop me unless ill health comes along. But even then, who knows,
And I guess for people who are listening, that you are a smaller lady.
Yes. Yeah, I'm 4'10" and 3/4, and that 3/4 is very important. Yeah. And so, I just feel like I need to prove myself. I don't know why I need to prove myself, because I probably don't, but I just feel like I have to. I'm not sure where that comes from, really. I was the youngest child of 3, but I was the boss in the family, so, had a good childhood. Don't know why. I need to prove myself.
Well, it's very bold of your character to put yourself in these positions where you are in front of an audience, where you're going to demonstrate your strength within.
Yeah.
I think that seems to be the heart of your story, is how you've been able to challenge yourself and put yourself in uncomfortable positions, knowing that you can reap the benefits from the growth that you put yourself in when you do that.
Yeah, it's right. I don't know why I do it, but it started off, I think, I got to about 35, I'm 52 now, I got to about 35 years age, and I was like, now's the time that you need to grab your health and grab your weight management, and just make sure that I'm healthy through life. You think your life's forever until you get to around that age, and you see people becoming poorly in family, and you want to just sort of get a grip there and then. So I started a bit more exercise then. I was in a lot of sports teams at schools, but then when you have children, you just sort of stop a few things, or that I did. And I needed to just get a grip and start getting positive mind, positive body, doing things good for others and that, I've always done things good for others, but it was just to try and, get a grip of your health, make sure. I've always seen ill health, I think, through my work. So straight from school, when my dad was ill when I was a teenager, through a hereditary family condition. So straight from school, went off to nursing, and then saw more poor health and people dying of all ages. And I'm quite morbid in that way. I think, we're not here forever, but I want to be. So I need to look after yourself.
Yeah. You are a cardiology nurse working in the NHS.
Yeah.
You've done so for 30 years now.
Yeah.
More than 30 years, sorry.
Yeah, I started my training in 1989. I was told at 15 years of age that I should work in an office 9-to-5 job. And when I suggested nursing, they said definitely not. So
Why was that?
Say that again.
Why was that?
because it was a ridiculous careers advisor that didn't have a clue what they were doing, probably. I can't ever think what other reason there would be. But I think that was the start of my challenges, because then I was like, right, I'll prove you wrong. So straight from school, age 17 and a half, I did my first year of the sixth form, which is like year 12 now. I knew that I was going into nursing, and the youngest age you could be was 17 and a half. So I got in there and then. And yeah, I mean, now looking at 17-year-olds and seeing what I saw at that age, I think, gosh, you're too young. But at the time, it just felt right for me. I didn't want to travel. I didn't want to, I just wanted to stay at home and study and get my nursing qualification, really.
What was it about nursing that attracted you to that job?
Helping others. I think I've always been, when we were children, me and my sisters, we saw charity going on in the home, really. My mum was very involved with charitable organisations. My dad would have people popping over just for bits of advice privately that I didn't know what advice he was giving, but I just saw that in the home, and I think that's just ingrained in me. And then we did like sponsored walks and charity walks, and we were on drama activities that was raising money for charities. And I think it just had that in me. When I told my parents I wanted to be a nurse, I remember the night my mum and dad were in bed, and I just knocked on the door and told them, right, I'm going to go into nursing. And my dad burst out laughing, because I was just the little twerp in the house, and just the little one who, I don't know, more of a comedian than anything else. My mum burst out crying, because her dad always wanted a nurse in the family, and he died just before I was born. I'm named after him. So I never knew that, and it was just like quite emotional for her, because he died just before she got pregnant with me. So it was like sort of carrying on the tradition, really, of he wanted someone in the family to be a nurse. And he actually, looked back at him, he did work for St John's Ambulance as a volunteer. So it's sort of, I don't know, is it in my blood maybe? I don't know.
It's definitely a grand adventure, being at the heart of helping your local community when people are at their most vulnerable, when they've come in having heart attacks, various problems with their heart, near-death experiences, and you're the first person that they see on the other side of that.
Yeah, God help them. Not many get a fright when they see me, but you've just got to reassure them really quickly. You've got to get that trust straight away. And just be there and, explain what's happened, and this is what we're going to do, and, and explain to the family and reassure them as quickly as possible that I don't know if everything's going to be all right, but this is what we're going to do, and we're going to hopefully get through the worst of it. And, then it's sort of over to them as to how they change their lifestyle, maybe with health promotion and, sugar intake, fat intake, blood pressure problems, any smoking, alcohol related problems, anything like that, all the risk factors to heart disease. But the first bit is with us, the nurses, who have to get it sorted straight away, really, with the whole team.
What are the big changes that you've seen across those 30 plus years of working in that sector of nursing?
My first ward as a student nurse was on a cardiology and a medical ward, which I didn't realise when I went into cardiology, but looking back on that first ward when I was terrified to see anything, they had people on the monitors on the beds, and I just sort of used to walk past like that, because I thought, well, I don't know what the squiggly lines mean, so I'm not even going to look. There's qualified nurses for that. And patients would come in with a heart attack. They'd be in bed for 5 days. Then they'd be sitting out in the chair for 2 days, and then they'd be allowed to walk around. So they were in hospital for about 10 days with treatments that were sort of hit and miss if they worked or not in the 1980s, 1990s, early 1990s. Now they're in hospital. They get a stent. If it's a heart attack, they get a stent put into the vessel, opens it up straight away, and they are on coronary care for 12 hours-ish, and then they are home within 2 to 3 days, building their life up again, getting back to a normal life, hopefully, if they've come into hospital quick enough, which is amazing.
And because many people have been suffering from heart attack previous to coming into the hospital, they've had to be helped and supported to help save their life along the way, whether that's some kind of form of resuscitation, whether that's a first responder, an ambulance, or someone close by to them.
Yeah, that's right. It's amazing. It's amazing if people even get into hospital when they've had a cardiac arrest at home or in the workplace. But the main thing that people should do is learn how to do CPR. It's so easy to find out how to do it. There's the British Heart Foundation website. There's other websites. You only have to Google everything these days and find out how to do it. It astounds me when people have come in and the family members have resuscitated them. It's hard enough seeing a poorly family member, but to see them literally collapsed and pretty much dead in front of you and jumping on them to do resuscitation is amazing. Because I wouldn't like to say I'd run out the room because I'm qualified to do what I need to do, but I just can't imagine it happening to me. So they are the bravest people around, the ones that do resuscitate the family members. But it's really important to learn how to do it.
And the resus world is so big now. There is a huge culture around defibrillations in different community centres and public areas. There are now apps which can tell you where they're located. Many phone boxes have them now across the UK.
Yeah,
that's been a big change in the last 20 years. And like you said, it's actually not incredibly hard skill to have. It just takes 5 minutes of learning.
Yeah, that's
just to know the simple things of what to do in case of an emergency.
Yeah. I mean, there's been people campaigning for defibrillators in schools and health centres. There was a boy who passed away in the school where my children went and where I went, called Oliver King, and his dad set up the Oliver King Foundation. And he's campaigned for defibrillators to be put in gyms, health centres, schools, villages, and he's trained people. And so far he's saved, I'm saying he's saved, but his training and putting the defibrillators everywhere has saved 60-ish lives from what I heard last, which is just unbelievable. And that's adults and children, whoever's needed to use it. It's such an easy tool to use. You only have to stick some stickers on the chest and it says on the sticker where to put it on the chest and press a button if the machine tells you to press a button. That's all you have to do. You just have to stand back and let it do it for itself. You can't you can't kill a dead person. That's how I say it, which I know sounds brutal, but you can't kill a dead person. So what you can do for them could possibly save their life. And if it doesn't, it's not your fault. They're already dead. But if it does, it's a miracle, isn't it?
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah. I'll link some things below to the tools and resources and how people can get trained up into finding a bit more about resuscitation and defibrillations and what they need to do in the event of an emergency, especially in their local area.
Yeah, brilliant.
Just jumping in briefly to say, if you've got this far, you're probably a fan of the show. And it would be great if you wouldn't mind confirming that love by following or subscribing to this podcast. It takes just one click from you, but it really does make a huge difference in getting more people to find this show. Thank you. You talked about things that changed in your life in your mid-30s that made you focus more on your own health and fitness. What was happening at that time in your life?
I don't know those exact dates. I think, maybe I do. My dad passed away when I was 25. So just after I got married, I found out I was pregnant a day or two after he died. So it was like a transition of one person goes and a new person comes along, and my daughter is named after my dad, just like I was named after my mum's dad. And I just my auntie was very special to me, and she had a cancer, and I think it may have been around that time that she had treatments and got through it. I'm not too sure what age I was, and there was a family health condition, kidney disease in the family as well, which my sisters have. So it was always on my mind that there's health problems around, and I'm literally dodging them here and there, and I'm extremely lucky to not have that condition. I mean, they're both well, which is fantastic, but they've still got that condition. So it's on my mind that I've been the lucky one, and I need to do things the best in life and just live every day. And I think everyone should live every day. You never know when you're not here anymore, do you? Because you're gone. I'd said I was morbid. So in my 30s, I think I was starting to, I'd had my children. They were starting to get less needy. And I noticed that my weight was going slightly up, and I thought, no, come on, I'm walking up a hill sweating when I don't need to. I should be doing something about this. So I got into, I went into the gym, and then someone showed me some equipment, and I tried to have a go. And then I got a personal trainer who was this young, fit lad who had me running around the field and sweating buckets, and it wasn't pleasant. But I still had that bug that I wanted to do more. So I got rid of the young, fit lad and found a female of my age, because I thought they're going to understand me better if I moan about periods or, wobbly boobs or anything like that. And then I just got into it more. And then I found a football team called Mum Ball that was being set up. And it was a football team for mums pretty much. They were all out of fitness and wanted to get back into football. So I joined that. And that was about 2015. I joined that. But before that, I'd already got into mad challenges. So yeah, I think in my 30s, my auntie was becoming a little bit sicker, and that made me realise that life isn't forever.
Your auntie passed away in a Marie Curie hospice.
Yeah.
And that's something that you've chosen to focus on, fundraising.
Yes, yeah. In 2012, she passed away, and used to visit her every day in the hospice. I mean, it's when I walked into that hospice and they offered her a gin and tonic as she, was pushed in with the ambulance crew, it was like, wow, that's like something I've never known happen before. She wasn't a drinker or anything, but she became a bit of a drinker while she was there. A little evening gin and tonic. It was lovely. And I quite enjoyed visiting her every day. It sort of got to the same time every day, like 10:30 in the morning. That was my plan. If I wasn't working, I'd pop along there. I live less than like a quarter of a mile away, so it was dead easy. And then my sister would pop around at the same time. And so it was like a lovely togetherness feeling. But when she died, it was like, oh, what do I do at 10:30 each morning? And I needed to find something to focus on then. And that was when I realised that I hadn't actually put myself out there and made myself uncomfortable with things. Like I said, I had my health, but I didn't really know what to do with it. So I looked on Google and different challenges, and I thought, what do I absolutely hate? I hate flying in an aeroplane, which I'll never put off, but I do hate flying aeroplanes. I don't fly them. I'm a bit fussy with my food, and I've never been away from the family. Maybe I'll book a trip to China to trek along the Great Wall of China. I mean, how bizarre does that sound? So I did. I met this new group of people in the airport on the way.
So you put yourself in this position of uncomfort immediately just by booking something and knowing that you have to face these fears.
Yeah, I must have booked it within a month or two of my auntie passing away, yeah.
And this was an unorganised trek?
Yes, with a company, with a medic, with a tour guide. Yeah, right. I'm not that mad where I would risk. I get lost going out the front door sometimes, so I'm not going to just go off to China by myself. So it was an organised group.
But these places are great facilitators on
amazing.
Taking you on an adventure.
Yeah, amazing. And I didn't have a clue what to expect. So that gave me a focus. So that was she died in December 2012. So October 2013 was this trip coming along. So I thought, I've got to get fit. I've got to be focused. And I took it serious. I gave myself a challenge where I don't like to quit and I don't want to lose in anything. I didn't realize how competitive I am until that started, really.
So how did you face your fear of flying? You were at this airport. Gosh. You're, I guess, mixed in with some strangers who are going to be your friends for the next week or so.
I told them that I have a fear of flying, and I sing a song to myself and hum as it's taking off. And if there's any turbulence, I tell every person who I sit next to on an airplane that I might grab their leg and don't get a fright. I mean, I've just come back from a trip with a few work colleagues last week, and I told this fellow on the plane going there that, a stranger, I wasn't going with him, that I might grab his leg if there's turbulence. And he looked at me and he said, well, actually, my friend's not turned up, so if you want to move to the aisle seat, that's absolutely fine. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So suddenly, as we're going down, there's a little bit of turbulence, and my arm, just automatic pilot, this arm, it just goes rah, and grabbed What wasn't someone who wasn't there, thankfully. And he looked down. I said, I told you, I'm so sorry, but at least I didn't get you. So yeah, every airplane journey I go on, I tell the person next to me that I do that. But also, the main thing is I get my iPad out, I play a game, and I sing Especially For You by Jason and Kylie. I've got to admit it. I did that when I had my wisdom tooth taken out as well. The dentist had never been sung to before.
It's fair. I'll tell you a little story about me, actually. I think when I did my first kind of trip abroad as a kind of young adult, maybe I was only about 15 or 16, I went away with my sister to Turkey. Her friend had cancelled on her, so I kind of jumped on board to go away with her for 2 weeks in Turkey. And it wasn't until I was sitting on the plane when I just hadn't realised that I hadn't really been in that position for most of my memory from probably being a younger kid. And then suddenly everything just came to the top and I just started to panic. And I was hearing weird noises. I was seeing weird flashing lights. I think it was raining a little bit. And it was a mild panic, but I started to well up. And there's one thing that helped calm me, and I'll happily admit this to everyone because I think it's a great song. And they had like a little radio station on this airplane, and it only had like 8 songs. But the song that came on as I was like in this state of panic and needed calming down was Natasha Bedingfield's Unwritten. Mm-hmm. And that song has forever had a place in my heart since, of just resonating with me on how it could calm me down. So
I think we all have that special song, don't we? I mean, I use that song now every plane journey, but also every time something's just not right or my head's just going a little bit dodgy, I sing it to myself. I know I'm a little bit weird, unique, as my mother said. But I think it's important to have anything that makes you focus and come back to reality. You know, sing it, you know.
So you landed on your first big trek away on this grand adventure, tackling the Great Wall of China. But you were still out of your comfort zone in a foreign place, foreign food. How did you approach every step of that?
I found if I could land on that runway and get off the plane and in China, that was my challenge over. I knew that I'd be able to do anything. That was one thing that proved to me that I could do anything I want to do, which is ridiculous because the challenge is probably the trekking bit, but I was fit enough for that. I knew that I'd trained for that. I'd fundraised as well. You know, each trek I do, I pay for myself because to me it's my hobby, I suppose. But I like to fundraise for charities. So that first trek was for Marie Curie, but was also for Kidney Research UK, which is to do with, you know, in memory of my dad. And people had donated fantastic amounts because it was totally unusual that little Michelle from Liverpool, who was a nurse, is going off on this big adventure, you know, leaving my 3 kids with the hubby and just going off. So I'd conquered the part that I thought would be the challenge.
That's a big part of that challenge as well, is leaving your family and your husband behind and doing this on your own. You didn't have your husband's leg to grab on that plane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was wishing the person who was going to be sitting next to me luck. No, I mean, you know, I've got such a supportive husband. He's amazing. And hopefully that doesn't go out on the podcast. No, I'm joking. He is amazing. And I tell everyone he's amazing because we're both individuals and we both have hobbies and we both have our life. And as much as, you know, we want to bring children into the world, I think it's really important that every single person has that one life, you know, depending on what your beliefs are, that why should something else stop you wanting to do something if you've got that support behind you? You know, my kids were like made up. I was going off. They were going to have time with the dad by themselves where I don't nag or tell them to tidy up or, you know, they can have fish fingers and chips every night instead of fish fingers and chips maybe, you know, so anything could happen. And yeah, he's so supportive. He's really good. And he encourages it really when I've got something on my mind to do. He goes, just get it booked.
What does this say about someone who was in a similar position to you where they have these family ties and they feel like they cannot do something like what you did with their entire family because of the huge expense or the huge logistical challenge, but deep within them, they still want to go out and have this adventure, but they might feel the trappings of standard, ordinary life?
Well, it depends. It depends who you've got as your support network. You know, if you've got kids at home, I say do everything you need to do, because we're not here forever. But it depends. It depends if the family is supportive, I suppose, because you do need someone for your children to be looked after. But my thing is, we're all individual, like I said. I don't get married and have children to be stuck in the home and do nothing because that's my job in life. My job in life is to have the most amazing life possible. And I think everybody should have the same.
So maybe you can give some advice, actually. So, okay, imagine you're in a position now where your kids have fled the nest.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
So you've got a bit more freedom
Yeah.
in your own life. You're still going out and doing these incredible trips. I need you to give advice to my mum. She's listening. Hi, Mum.
Hi.
Who, in her heart, wants to go out on these grand adventures, but for some reason or not, she doesn't. And maybe it's the trappings of my dad, who needs, some support because he can't cook, things like that at home, silly things. Or just not realizing that it's just the sake of booking something and doing it that will make it happen. And what I love about your story is that you've gone to these places that are facilitators of adventure. So they take all the hard work away from it.
Yeah.
So you've just got to just turn up.
Yeah.
And you know that you can have a great time with the support of a great group of people who are going to make that experience so much more worthwhile.
Yeah.
But what gets someone to take that leap to say, actually, this is one thing I really want to do, so I'm going to be a little bit selfish and I'm going to go off and do this on my own?
Am I allowed to swear?
Go for it.
My mum had this saying, between the two of us, I don't know if anybody knew or not, but we just had this fuckity fuck moment that, when she got cancer, she'd go, fuckity fuck, and I'd go, oh, are you having a fuckity fuck day? And I think it literally is that. You've got to go fuckity fuck, just get it booked. Just literally don't think about it. And that sounds really odd, but sometimes that's just like, I think about things and I look into things and I'm thinking why I shouldn't do something and why someone else shouldn't do something. If it's on your mind and you want to get it done, what are you even thinking for? If you can afford to do such and such, there's certain, lots of treks where you can do it for a minimal expense, because if you fundraise enough for the charity will help you get you there. So it really is from a scale of what you can afford. You can do certain things, and it doesn't have to be mad ones or broad ones like I do. It could be, if your challenge is going up Molfamo in North Wales and you've never climbed a hill before or a mountain before, then that's one massive challenge. If your challenge is just running the Race for Life 5-kilometre run, walking, jogging, whatever you want to do, if that's taking you out of your comfort zone, why are you waiting? What are you waiting for? No one's going to book it for you. You've got to do it yourself.
And I know how a mindset can completely change and give you focus as soon as something is booked, because then you have a plan which you need to work towards to get yourself ready for that, whether that is some kind of training.
Yeah, I've just come back from the Arctic in March, and I know every time I come back, I go on a little bit of a downer, like a couple of weeks. I give myself 2-3 weeks just to sort of settle back to normal life. And then I think, no, never again. And then I'm like, messaging, looking on the computer as to what can I book next. And it's only once I've booked the next thing that my head just calms down. I don't know why I need to even book that next thing, but I do each time. I've got that thing where I need another, what's next year and what's next year and what am I going to do this year? And I need things to plan ahead, because if I haven't got any plans, then I feel like nothing's going to happen. And I need plans to challenges as in plans. So I've got a few things sort of planned for the coming year, which I've got a good focus for. So it keeps my head intact, really.
So what was the Great Wall of China trek like?
Amazing. Amazing. Well, my fitness was perfect, no injuries, no problem. Came home at the end, washing myself in the shower, and thought, whose legs are they? Because they were so toned and, muscly. I was like, wow. The Great Wall of China had a lot more steps than I thought it would have. So it was a lot of steps. But it was the people I met as well, the groups of people. Some people went as couples, some as friends. There was only 2 or 3 of us that were single, by ourselves there. There was a group of like a family of 5 that went, not all doing it for charity. They just booked on through this company. But it just made me, sounds really corny, find myself. I was the first time really that it was just, I was Michelle. I wasn't the mum, I wasn't the auntie, I wasn't the sister. I was Michelle. And I really could have told those people I was anything. I could have said I was, I don't know, a lorry driver and they would have believed me. And I know that sounds really odd, but it's I didn't need to lie about who I was, but it just made me feel like I could be anyone. No one knows me. And it made me feel independent for the first time, probably. Because, you know, when I left school, went into nursing, and during my training, or just after I qualified, I met my husband. And, you know, I've always been sort of attached to somebody, which is my choice and I love it. But there, I was just me by myself.
It's interesting you say that. I guess that's a fundamental part of what an adventure can give you when you put yourself not just out of your comfort zone, but out of your norms and out of your daily routine and out of your circle of friends and family that you surround yourself with. That you get so caught up in just being this version of yourself which operates on a day-to-day basis that you sometimes forget the other side of you that you might have within you that gets masked by that. And so by being somewhere completely new, surrounding yourself with new people, new experiences, new food, just completely resets everything.
Yeah. It just made me feel me, which I'd never been, which I have been, but I can't really describe the feeling. But even like, you know, just looking out at the scenery, I'd only ever seen China on the telly. So suddenly I was looking out at the Great Wall of China and I was actually there. And it was like breathing the air and just being me. It's really unusual.
So how did your life change coming back from that? That's obviously the first trip that you went on that really inspired you, knowing that you could, one, get on a plane, two, go to foreign fields and eat foreign food and have these experiences.
I found that, that was 2013. It was just after my auntie died. And then when I came back, I was on a bit of a downer because it was my first major challenge, which I'd worked up and everybody knew I was going. And suddenly it was like, now what? And then in 2014, my sister got a kidney transplant and my mum's second husband passed away. And straight away I needed to book something because it was like, oh, here we go again. Funnily enough, every time I got pregnant, somebody had died. So I think that's sort of a train of each time. You know, when my daughter was born, my dad had just died. And when my son was born, my husband's grandfather had just died. And then a friend died just before my third child. So it was like, here we go again. It's like a trail of what keeps happening. So in 2014, you know, the ups and downs of that year, I booked my next challenge of the Sri Lanka for 2015. And that took, again, lots of fundraising and training. And it was the jungles and mountains of Sri Lanka.
This is another trek.
Yeah. Here we go again. It was. So it was just my second one. I didn't think I'd just keep doing it nearly every year, but that was my second one. Sri Lanka was somewhere I'd never even thought of going to. And I absolutely hate spiders and snakes and leeches and all those horrible things. So where else better to book is a jungle in Sri Lanka. It wasn't camping, it was in little lodges. So, you know, it was a little bit of comfort.
So this was a kind of A to B every day and you go somewhere new?
Yes, yeah.
So you eventually, but over the course
So they'd drop us where we were going to be walking and then they'd pick us up with that day's challenge finished. Yeah. Which was just like, I mean, you know, this one, again, this one was for Marie Curie again. And it was, again, it was a challenge. I was sharing a room with someone who was not my age and no one I knew before. And I think it's important just to be able to get on with anybody and come across people that you wouldn't usually meet in life and understand people. I think it helped to understand different types of people.
And did you come across any creepy crawlies when you were out there?
Oh, God, yeah. I've got photos of leeches on me and they were horrible. They really freaked me out. Yeah. And that was the trek where my push-ups started. There was a night challenge, which was our last sort of big challenge of the trip that was called Adam's Peak. And in Sri Lanka, it's called Sri Pada. And I can't remember how many thousands of steps literally going upwards. And we all had to get a single file and leave about 11 or 12 p.m., 11 p.m. or midnight. And they said to us, stick your night torches on, get your walking poles ready, and think in your head of the song, the Death March. Dum, 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 dum. So I was like, oh, God, that's a bit morbid. But it was the way that we were literally going up the steps. So it was to help us keep, a good routine of not going too fast and tiring ourselves out. And it took several hours to get to the top. And at the top, you saw the sunrise and, the shadow of the Adams Peak on the clouds below. And it was just absolutely amazing being at the top.
So what made you do the press-ups on top of that?
Yeah. I don't know. I got to the bottom and someone was saying, oh, I'm absolutely shattered. And, we've not slept all night. And I was like, well, I can do something. I don't know why it even came to me, but I just said, I'm going to make this challenge harder. I felt like I had to prove that I wasn't tired. I mean, of course I was tired. I don't know why I did that. But then after I did it, I did a few press-ups on the floor and they were all like laughing and cheering. I thought, I'm going to make this a thing. Every time I go somewhere, I'm going to do this.
So I imagine once you had these treks booked, you had a fair bit of training to do.
Yeah.
Which I guess got you out in the local area.
Yes.
Building that fitness.
Yeah. So the football was still ongoing. And then there was, I'd start doing the Race for Life each year. So little runs around the park and things. And then I'd get into the gym and do a bit of gym work, of little classes of weights and stuff. So every week I was probably going sort of 2-3 times a week doing some kind of fitness. Yeah. And it just made me feel strong and ready for whatever was going to come along, really.
And I guess it's part of the journey itself, is enjoying those moments.
Yes. Yeah.
Getting outside and living life on your days off and weekends. And
yeah. I mean, I was finding little mini challenges along the way to train for the big challenges. So, I did like the Yorkshire Three Peaks one year, and I did, Snowdon or Ben Nevis I did. So all I'm saying little challenges. They weren't little challenges, of course, but they were the little mini things to me compared to the big abroad overseas trips. Yeah. One of them was a cycling one, which was Night Rider, which was 100 kilometers through the night. And so it was fundraising for that. And then I did like coffee mornings to fundraise for the charities and different things like that.
The bike ride, have you done a biking trek at all?
Yeah, I have. Last year I did Vietnam, Cambodia. That was the first one abroad. Well, no, I have cycled in Mallorca, in the hills of Mallorca, but that was with a cycling group that I met through lockdown. So lockdown, I was just, because I couldn't go to the gym anymore and I was just working, and it was all quite miserable on the news, obviously. And in work was miserable a little bit because no one could have their break together, and we had patients that were poorly, obviously. I needed a sort of an escape for that. So I just started, dusted off the bike and got out on the bike and was just cycling, making shapes with my new app on my phone. And then one day I thought I'll travel from Liverpool to Southport, which is probably, I don't know how many miles it is, but it seemed like a big one for me. And along the way, I stopped for a drink of water off my bike and just in some car park. And this fella out of nowhere came out in Lycra and said, "Are you waiting for the group?" And I was like, "No, what group?" And he goes, "Oh, the ones that are going from Liverpool to Southport." I was like, "Well, I'll wait for them then," because I get lost everywhere. So I was like, well, I may as well join on to a group where I'm not going to get lost. So this group came along and they'd pretty much left near where I was living. So it was like, this is just bizarre. And I, introduced myself and said, "Oh, I'm going to Southport as well. Can I follow you?" And they're like, yeah, join in, And it was brilliant. Absolutely loved it. And they were like, keen to have me on their group. And so it was just a Facebook group cycling thing that's set up over lockdown. And when we were allowed to go out in little groups, we did. Apart from that, I just cycled by myself. But then they went off to Mallorca. That's why I'm trying to bring myself back to the cycling challenge. They booked a trip to the Lake District and then Mallorca, which both have hills in. So I got on booked with them. And then I thought, I've coped with that. It's hard, but I've got another one to do, which was Vietnam, Cambodia cycle ride, which was last year, 2023.
How do you reframe your mindset when you are taking on a different form of an adventure?
As in cycling instead of trekking. Training, pretty much training.
I guess because you went out your comfort zone to do these trekking adventures that then I guess became your comfort zone, and then you've kind of gone out of your comfort zone again to do something completely different.
I like to, so when I find something too easy, then I push it to something that I'm not used to. Each challenge that I did from the China, Sri Lanka onwards got a little bit harder. Like the one after Sri Lanka was the Grand Canyon, but this was the first one camping, and I hate camping. I don't do camping. I always say that I want a toilet, I want a bathroom. I like my comforts in that way. So that was the first one camping. So that was just amazing. I met some fantastic people on that trip.
Where in the Grand Canyon were you camping? Was it in?
It was in the
actual rim.
Yeah, and the Zion Canyon as well. There were campsites, and it was a company that I booked through, and it was they were cooking for us at the campsite.
How did your mindset on camping change?
I don't like it, but I like to do it, which sounds really stupid, but I don't enjoy camping when I'm actually camping. But the idea that I'm going camping on a challenge, it's more of a challenge to me than staying in a hotel room, because there you can just, plonk your stuff and you can move around and be comfy. In a tent, you can't do that. So I don't enjoy it. I'm saying I don't enjoy it, but I must do because I'm doing it and I keep doing it.
Or is it just a necessary step out of your comfort zone that you know is necessary for a certain challenge?
I mean, after the Grand Canyon, I pushed it further and went up the Himalayas, which was then, really cold instead of, the Grand Canyon would get to sort of like -2 degrees maybe at night. But then, Himalayas would get to -15, -20 at night in a tent. So that was like, we opened the tent and there's ice on the outside. And then I pushed it further and, I did Kilimanjaro in between them as well. Which was altitude, because I always said I would never do Kilimanjaro because of the altitude and I don't want to kill myself doing these trips. But then suddenly something clicked in my head and went, oh, a challenge. So I did book it,
What made that happen? What made that click in your mind?
Because I thought I wouldn't be able to do it. So I had to prove that I could do it. Pretty much. I think that must be it, because there's only one thing in my life that I will not do, and I'm sticking to it, is jump out of a plane, where people say it's absolutely amazing, but that's one thing that my head will never click into that place. 100%.
Are you sure?
I am unless the plane
things.
is going down with me, I am not jumping out. Yeah. So I'll be on the news next week jumping out of a plane, won't I? No.
Wow.
No.
What could tempt you?
Nothing. Really, 100% nothing. I've got past, I haven't got past the fear of flying, but I am coping with the fear of flying, and it's getting better.
I can just imagine your paraglider's leg for that entire journey down.
And also, at the back of my mind is they might have a cardiac arrest on the way down, which is stupid, I know, but it's what I see, isn't it? In my real life. So I couldn't just trust that one person midair and get me to pull I wouldn't be able to find it, No, 100%.
Okay.
It's not happening.
No, I'm sorry to push you on that, I think. Actually,
no, it's fine.
I think you have to understand that everyone's wired differently. And what really hits hard with me is when I see these people on the internet climbing these buildings and like dangling off the top of cranes.
Yeah.
And that for me was just no go. Never do that. I think I'm quite adventurous and will happily try lots of things, but I will definitely not try that.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to respect people's boundaries in life. But I guess there is this fine line between what are we limiting ourselves that we feel like we're unable to do, that actually we can enable to do just by stepping out that comfort zone.
Yeah, in 2020, when 2022, when things were just opening up again, I was turning 50 that year. So every month I set myself a new challenge every month. One of those was an abseil. I don't know why. I don't know. I always said I wouldn't ever do that. But the hospital was organising this abseil. So I was like, okay, the hospital where I work. And I booked on. And I was dreading it. And even on the day I was dreading it. And I've never been nervous for anything really, for that kind of thing. But, and I did it. And even at the top, they took a photo at the top of me all strapped in, ready to go. And they were like, smile. And I'm like, I looked like I was on the toilet, it was that bad. And then my family were down below shouting, wave, Michelle, wave. But I was holding on so tight that I was like that. And that was my wave for the whole time. And people were laughing by the end because I took so long to get down because I was so terrified. But I'll never do an abseil again.
Right.
100%.
Okay. You found your limit.
I found my limit, yeah. I need my feet to be on the ground, however high up in life it is. I need my feet to be on the ground. Yeah.
So when you did your Kilimanjaro, which was another no-go area for you doing altitude, how did you actually find you operated in those conditions?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was one of the, they're all fantastic, but it was one of the big ones because of the altitude sickness. I thought I was absolutely fine. And on summit night, we were getting to the top. It was through the day, it was about 8 to 10 hours trekking. And then we had about 3 hours sleep before we started to climb for 12 hours then. So we were absolutely shattered anyway. And on that trip, I thought near the top, it was absolutely amazing that the villagers who must live somewhere nearby had painted all these stones like gold and silver happy faces with little red faces and stuff. And I thought, wow, where are these people that have painted all these pebbles along as I go up? And I only realised like in the airport on the way home when I suggested to someone, did anyone else pick up a pebble that was happy face all over it? They were like, what are you talking about? And I thought, I must have been hallucinating. There were no happy face pebbles anywhere. But I think if I'd told someone, I probably would have been sent down straight away. So I didn't even think of telling anyone because I thought it was real.
One of the things you've been able to do is use your experiences in health and fitness and your adventures to inspire others to get out and move. I think you were asked to write some blogs for work.
Yeah, so over lockdown, I was writing on social media about the different fitness things I was doing that was keeping me sort of doing something rather than sitting at home doing nothing. And my chief exec of the hospital got in touch with me. We saw each other when I was walking into work one day, and she said, can we have a catch up? And I was like, what have I done? So she said, we'll have a catch up. It's about your fitness. I'd love to have a chat about it. And I was like, yeah, of course. Thought I was going to inspire her, and she's just lovely. So anyway, I went into her office a few days later and said, what is it? What do you mean? And she said, I'd love you to write a blog for the hospital because, we've all been sitting around a lot, and I noticed that you're doing a lot of fitness, and it'd be nice to inspire all different age groups and, sizes of what we can get back into after, during this lockdown and stuff. So I started the blogs from there, and she said, you can do a monthly or you can do a fortnightly or weekly. And I said, well, to be honest, I'm doing something every week. We'll start weekly and see how we go. So I got in touch with the communications team at work who just would sort of run through what I needed to do, like send it in on one night, and they'd put it out there on the Friday. And then it started being called Fitness Friday instead of Fitness Friday, which I thought was quite clever. So that blog was coming out every week then. And I loved it. And then I was interviewing different people across the hospital. If they wanted to tell me their stories of fitness, then, some were doing big things, some were doing couch to 5K. And then I found I went to borrow a piece of equipment off another ward, and one of the male nurses said, oh, aren't you that fit nurse? And I was like, thank you. So I was getting myself out there really to, people were inspired, I think, by what I was doing, which is lovely. And that's what I want to do, And then another charity I work for, I'm governor for, they got in touch and said, will you do a blog for us each week? So that's sort of started now. So I slightly tweak it for the hospital or for the other one.
Do you find there's generally a need for it specifically in the nursing industry, or is it just generally just about supporting people and just encouraging them and inspiring them?
I think everywhere. I think every job now has its pressures. I think most people are now overweight or obese and stuck in a rut, and a lot of people don't know. They want to do something, but they don't know how to get started, which is really where I was. I wanted to do it, and I thought, if I don't do it, no one's going to do it for me. And, that's my advice I'd give to people, really. Don't wait for something. Just do it. If you're thinking of it, just do it. So yeah, I think any role in life now, people just need to get into fitness. But when you look across the hospital, there's a lot of overweight people in the hospital. And we're trying to give health promotion to people who are having heart attacks and things. And, if someone's very large sitting at your bedside telling you not to eat fatty foods and sugar, then, you're not going to take them serious, I don't think.
I guess there's the importance of getting people to understand that positive change comes in small steps.
Yeah.
And it quite often you can see these, a bit like your experience with the young fitness PT, who probably wasn't in your kind of range of, and vice versa, didn't have the understanding of where you needed to be to get yourself to your fitness goals. And it's quite often we see these incredibly athletic people all over social media, all on the news, doing these grand adventures, but actually everyone has to start at some point. And I guess it's always a reminder that if you start small, you start from that foundation and basis, and then from that you can go on to do bigger and better things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just literally just start something, just do something that's on your mind that you want to do, and then see where it takes you. I mean, it's taken me to bizarre places, things that I'd never thought was possible for me to do in life, and suddenly I'm doing them. And I don't know how it's progressed like that, but it's just like every year is a new adventure. And I'm always a bit scared on New Year's Eve. I always make sure I take New Year's Day off, which I try and get together with family members and friends and stuff. But New Year's Eve, I always think, what's the next year going to bring? Am I going to be here for the whole year? Who's going to die that year? All these horrible things go through my mind. I know it's deep, but honestly, that New Year's Eve, I don't really look forward to. And once 1st of January comes, I feel reassured again that I'm still here.
Are you prioritising certain family members and their time?
Yeah. I mean, even my dog, he's 11 now, and you think, is he going to be here next New Year's Eve?
Right.
I think I've got that inbuilt in me now. I am a little bit morbid, and it's called anticipatory grief. I can never say that word,
right.
But it's like, what's going to happen? Because at the moment, things are too good, and is something bad going to happen?
Yeah. When you've been in situations, unfortunately, where many people close to you have passed.
Yeah.
It's always a constant reminder of the fragility of life.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
What changes have you seen through the 4 years now of your health and fitness blog? Other than being called the Fit Nurse.
Yeah, Fit Nurse Friday. People have come up to me. I mean, in the community, the one that's the other charity is a community care, Merseyside Jewish Community Care. And I go out on their emails every week, and people of all ages have come up to me and said, you're amazing. I mean, I don't need this, but you're amazing. You do that. And I'm like, I'm not doing it for you to tell me I'm amazing. I'm doing it because, what have you done this week, sort of thing. And they were like, actually, I did this, that, and the other. And funnily enough, it's just reminded me, I was delivering some food bank type stuff to one lady in a sheltered housing type flat. So she looked like she was in her 70s, 80s, probably in her 80s, this little lady. And she knew me from the hospital magazine that I'd been in to do with my fitness. But she also knew me from the community care place. And she said, oh, Michelle, she said, I've been following your press ups. And I was like, yeah. She goes, tell me. And she just literally got down on the floor in front of me. Are these good enough? And I was like, this woman was in her 80s doing press ups in front of me. And she was like, since I come out of hospital last week, I've been trying to do 10 every day. What do you think? And I was like, wow. I was absolutely blown away. So it's literally people from all ages are just getting down and doing something. I've started a group in work just to do the Race for Life this year, the 5 kilometers. And some of them don't run or walk that far. And I said, we'll all do it at our own pace. We're a team together and we'll get it done. And if you want to fundraise for charity, you fundraise for charity. But it's just getting people interested. People are coming up to me telling me they bought a bike and where do I think they should cycle? And, so yeah, I mean, that's what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it so that people get excited about their own lives. There's a lot of people with a lot of problems going on. And if they just, get out on the bike, they're getting some fresh air in their lungs and makes their life more exciting.
So what advice would you give to someone who perhaps has a family member that they wish could be more active and perhaps change their lifestyle, and they can see that their current path in life is leading them down to unhealth?
Yeah. It takes communication, doesn't it? I mean, you can't change them. You can talk to them, say how worried you are about them, and maybe say, let's go for a walk together or let's do something together. But if they're a smoker, you can't get them to stop smoking until they're ready to stop smoking. You could only offer ideas to them. It takes the person. I don't think I mean, on my family members, a few of them smoked over the years. And I nagged, and yeah, my mum used to ask me to get cigarettes on the duty free, and I'd always refuse because I wasn't going to buy cigarettes for anybody. But she still carried on smoking for a long time. Eventually gave up, which I was made up for. She still died of cancer. So, they've got to do it themselves. They've got to have that thing that clicks in the brain and says, I want to do this. We can only advise, or I don't even think advice is good because...
some people aren't ready to hear it, are they?
Yeah.
And it can be quite preachy, especially if you've had your own journey and you're just kind of full of energy and want to just download that onto someone else.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't want to be a preacher. I don't want to preach in my job or my family life. People can see how I'm enjoying things, and I'm not a skinny Lizzie person. I am still overweight, but I'm fit and strong, and as long as my head is in the game and I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight, I keep going back to weight management, and I feel like I'm a bit obsessed with that, but I'm not. I think it's all to do with health, and if you can do something, someone may say to me, I can't do it because my knees are bad, but then your knees are bad because you're extremely overweight. So it's little steps to be able to do things. So if you did walk more often or eat slightly less of whatever kind of food, then you're actually going to be able to do that walk and get into that fitness that you want to. And your knees aren't going to be bad because the weight's come down a little bit off them, but I'm not a preacher. I want them to find that for themselves. I do have a trainer at the moment once a week that even when I don't want to do my exercise, she's really good at keeping me going. She'll laugh at me if I can't do it properly, which is great. That's what I want. And I've recommended her to a few friends who have got with her, even if it's for a short time, and it has helped them. And again, as well, going through sort of perimenopause and stuff, people have got in touch with me and said, any advice? Because I've been open about everything, and my advice is maybe to talk to people, to tell your husband what you're going through, to, your family members, to get the advice off a doctor, all these different things. I think it's not just about fitness, but it's about health and well-being of your whole self.
And how you communicate these health and fitness ideas has transcended into physical events. You've been giving talks to schools, women's institutes, about your travels, about your challenges.
Yeah. So that started around 2019. My friend, my best friend, who's very into the Women's Institute, she said to me, you've had all these amazing adventures, but you're not telling anyone about them. So I was like, well, I'm telling you and, my friends and my family. And she goes, you need to put it out there. You need to start doing talks. So I was like, oh gosh. So I put this little PowerPoint together and thought, well, I'll see how it goes. And she said that she'll come with me for the first couple and, give me a proper critique, where to improve and where not to, And it just sort of went bigger, really. And I got booked by quite a few different groups and ladies' lunches and different organisations. And then in 2023, I won the Coronation Champion Award via the Royal Voluntary Service, which was got a pin from the King and Queen Camilla, and got invited to the Windsor Castle concert, which was absolutely amazing.
This was like royal recognition.
Yeah, that was really like, wow. It was the second time I'd met King Charles, I suppose. I went to see him I got an invite to the Royal Garden Party in 2019, which was just like, it made me really emotional because my grandma was such a staunch royal person. She, every Christmas Day we had to sit down and watch the Queen's speech and, in silence and stuff. And she wasn't around anymore. But when I got that, just to go to the Royal Garden Party and meet him, it was like, wow. But then I've met him twice. The Windsor Castle was the third time I saw him from afar. But I met him at the Marie Curie Hospice for celebrating the 60th anniversary of Marie Curie Hospice being open. And then a few months later, got to meet him at the Royal Garden Party. So the second time when I spoke to him and shook his hand, I said to him, do you remember me? A bit cheekily. And he said, I don't even remember what happened yesterday, as a bit of a joke. And then he looked at my husband. He said, you better watch her. She looks like a right character. So he goes, you've got her down to a T straight away. He sussed me out straight away. So yeah, I can't remember your question now. I went off in the tangent.
Well,
sorry.
I mean, you were talking about the Royal Recognition, the Coronation
Yes, that's
Champion
right. So
Award.
yeah, so the talks. So with the Royal Voluntary Service recognition, they got in touch and they wanted to make community champions of people who won this Coronation Champion Award. So they wanted us to, if we wanted, to go through schools and different groups of organisations to promote volunteering in the community and the benefits of volunteering and, of all different age groups. So this year I've been going to a few different schools and their careers fairs and stuff and talking to them about different ideas of volunteering that they can do at different ages. So like they've got the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, so the kids have to do some kind of volunteering. So I sort of suggested a few things to them. And I also said it's great, if you want to go into medicine and you've got a bit of volunteering with people, it's going to show on your CV that you're serious about going into whatever job role you want.
It must be incredibly rewarding being able to be on a stage in front of people and celebrate your life, but also inspire theirs.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought I'd be able to speak to a group of people, but once I'd done it a few times, and you get a few that don't work. Not a few. I've had a couple that I've not felt as comfortable. I think they're more of the online ones though, because you haven't got that people contact. The Teams meeting ones haven't felt as good. But I've done them. But the school ones have been the most fun because I feel like I'm inspiring young people rather than people who are already doing something maybe.
I want to talk a bit about how health and fitness becomes an important part of life as you age.
Yeah.
And I guess you're probably from a generation that certainly when you're younger, there probably wasn't as much as a focus on health and fitness for people in their older ages when they became older. But now we're realizing that people have so much potential, so much later on into their life. You just talked about a lady in her 80s doing press-ups.
Yeah.
But that has had to be unlocked from within us all to realize that we have our potential.
Yeah, I mean, even a couple of the treks I've been on, there've been ladies in their 60s and 70s going on these same treks that, the younger people are doing and managing it. So as a child, I didn't really see older people exercise. It wasn't out there. It wasn't on the news. But now I think because menopause has become such a big thing that bone health has become a lot bigger, and they're finding different like yoga and Pilates for people who are maybe older or want to stretch more and look after the ligaments and the muscles. I'm still into the fast exercise really, but the weight training I'm feeling is really good for toning up, and is really good for menopause symptoms as well. Lifting weights, I've read that is great for bone management, bone care. I don't know the ins and outs and facts, but I know that it works, and I've read a few things about it.
You started your journey, your health and fitness journey in your 30s. Do you have experience of people finding that later on in their life and how their mindset is changing and how they're realizing that, when they get to their 50s and 60s, that they might have lived a life of unhealth, but actually they can still make the changes then?
Yeah, I think with the cycling group, really, there weren't young people on that cycling group. They were mainly fellas, well, a few women, but mainly fellas from 50s plus, some big guys, some small guys, but they were all doing it for fitness rather than to lose weight or anything, because they realized that, life isn't forever. So I think it was just I have come across people really, and also in the gym, there's all ages in the gym. It's not just little dolly birds. So people are noticing, and it's out there on the news, isn't it? That whatever age you are, there's so many different places you can go. We see all these people on the news doing these amazing challenges as well, and on the podcasts as well, that are all ages. It's not just for young people. Exercise can start any age group. Yeah.
So coming back to your adventures that you go on. You mentioned you just came back from the Arctic.
Yes.
That certainly sounds like very challenging conditions.
Yes, it was. It was probably the hardest in my head rather than my body, I think. It was a dog sledding challenge and camping in -20 at night. And
all these things sound incredibly fun as well.
Yeah, I know. Well, all of them have been fun, but I found this last one the hardest, as in not as much fun. And I think it was because, there was lack of food and water. It was more of a challenge in the way, not that we had to find food ourselves, but there wasn't really much water, so a lot of people were dehydrated. The dog sledding, the literal dog sledding, was amazing, but harnessing the dogs and getting them to where they needed to be, I was absolutely hopeless at. And it really upset me that I wasn't good at something. This is probably the first time I wasn't good at it. And that really frustrated me.
How did you cope in that moment?
I had my sunglasses on and I cried while I hugged one of the dogs. I really didn't cope very well with it. I didn't tell many people. I told one person that I kept crying every time I tried to harness a dog, and they would come along and help me. But the leaders of the group weren't, because it was meant to be a challenge where we do it ourselves. But these huskies were strong dogs, and they just wanted to go separate ways to the way I wanted to go. And then the snow was up to sort of our knees or thighs, that trying to go the wrong way and into a massive steep snow thing was really difficult. So I didn't manage well with that, and I was really annoyed with myself and frustrated. I knew I'd booked the wrong type of trip for me. I knew that I wouldn't be going back to the Arctic in a hurry for that kind of challenge.
So how did you process being on something that's you've gone out of your comfort zone and then you're stuck in it for some amount of time?
I had to just get on with it, and I was annoyed that I wasn't my happy self. I found it really difficult in the way that I wasn't me. I don't know, I couldn't work out how to be me. It was really a strange feeling, and it did knock me, and I realised that, all these amazing challenges, and I can't complain because it's an experience people won't ever have maybe, but I just found it really, really difficult in that way. And my head was wandering to memories of things that I didn't like in life. And, so I'm on the dog sled trying to control these dogs through the Arctic, and amazing, gorgeous scenery. But I actually started crying during it by myself, and it was just very strange. I'd never had that before. When I came back, I was happy to come home. I was happy at the end. Yeah.
I guess this is something that happens whenever we put ourselves out of our comfort zone. You hope that the majority of the time that we are able to grow in those experiences and become better people, and actually realize that what we thought was outside our comfort zone soon becomes comfortable. But there's going to be occasions which are going to be more rare when actually we find things that we don't like, and we're happy to then shelve that in our life. That's all part of the adventure of going into the unknown.
Yeah. I mean, I've never found anything as difficult as this in the way with my head, but I think I've learned from it, because I've realised I'm really hard on myself anyway, and I've realised that I can't be good at everything, and I found something that I'm not good at. And it just, it knocked me, but it shouldn't knock me, because I've learned from it not to do it again. But I can't be good. Yeah, I'm not good at everything, and I've come back with a new way of thinking. It took me, I think I was struggling as well because the kids are leaving home at around this time properly in life, and there was a lot going on in my head for that. And I thought, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And it was the first time really that I sort of regretted a little bit of actually doing it. But then coming back, life isn't as bad as I thought it would going to be with the kids leaving home. It's happened, and I'm still here, and I'm still okay, and they're okay, and everything's great. That then I've booked my next challenge for next year instead.
So what's happening this coming year? Or next year?
Next year, yeah. I'm going off on the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu in Peru. It's camping again. It's trekking again, back to sort of the old style. It is altitude, not as high as Kilimanjaro, but it's still altitude that it does. You don't know how you're going to be with it until you're actually there. But it's sort of a bit more, it is definitely a challenge, of course, but it's back to what I know I can cope with, I think.
And all these challenges, have they been booked through the same place? Is it the same company?
No,
or is it
no.
all different companies?
Different companies.
Yeah.
There's been 2 or 3 of the same company. But each time I just look at I look at who's booked what with, people who have come across as well in life on these challenges. We all talk to each other as to what we've done in the past. And then I suss them out on the internet and just see the goods and bads of them all, and how, if there's a medic, if it's well done,
Well, I wish you all the best on that trek and all the coming adventures you do, and all the further inspiration that you will provide to members of your own community and surrounding. It's been incredibly inspiring chatting to you and seeing someone who just likes to force themselves to get out of their comfort zone to go on an adventure.
Yeah, definitely recommend it.
and proving that not all adventures you have to kind of go off on your own and be miserable out in the rain and not have the support system and do everything yourself, that you can actually go join a group.
Yeah, have fun, meet new people. You don't know who you're going to come across in life. Definitely.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If you want to find out more information about any of the guests, please check out the show notes, where you'll also find links to things mentioned in the conversation. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please take a look through the past recordings. There's so many more incredible stories for you to find, and I can't wait for you to enjoy them. Thank you.